Hey guys, and welcome back. So, if you know me, you know that I have been on Tinder, or was on Tinder for a very long time. And by that I mean like 2 years or something. So I accumulated my fair share of weird experiences and rando stories that I have. And I figured that instead of letting them go to waste, I should share them with you. Also, apologies for any background noise. I am at my house and there's a lot of us, so I'm sorry. And also for the fact that I'm filming this on my phone because my camera it's not my camera, my SD card just decided to cack it last minute. Tested it last night, absolutely fine. Anyway, moving on, let's jump in to the first story. So I figure the best place to start is my first ever Tinder date. Alright, so I'm not gonna lie here, I picked a guy who I wasn't really that into, but was one of the first guys to ever message me back, and I wanted to break the awkwardness of having never been on a Tinder date, so I didn't really care who he was, what he did, or whatever. He seemed nice enough, and we had good chat, so figured let's break the Tinder virginity and go with this random dude. Who we're going to call Face Toucher Man, which will become apparent later on in the video as to why he's called that. Yeah, he seemed regular, worked in TV or whatever, I don't know. We met up in Oxford Circus, everything was going good, he seemed really nice. We went to a restaurant, which was a Thai restaurant, and because I love Thai food, okay? It's my jam. Anyway, I sat down and I ordered something. I was vegan at the time, so my menu choices were very, very limited. So I had like 2 choices, and one of them was noodles, and I eat with my face, so that was not happening. So my first awkward bit of the story is the fact that I ordered a really, really spicy dish, which was really hard to eat and pretend, like play it cool when your eyes are watering. Anyway, so dinner was actually fine. Couldn't really chat to each other because it was so late. The music in the actual restaurant was quite loud, which I didn't know was why this seemed like a passable date. So we leave the restaurant and we go to I don't know, a coffee shop that was still open. It was like 9:30 at night. So we go in, everything's chill. We're sitting like face to face on these bar stools, like the table's going this way. So I'm like where you are, we're facing each other, right? And this is where it all starts going downhill. So he just starts talking about his homeland, which I'm not going to specify where. He starts talking about his homeland, and women, and it started off fine, and then it just went really quickly like that, my friends, because he started talking about how women where he's from are treated and how he believes that that's the right way to treat women, that they are inferior and have a certain place in society. Now, he knows that I'm an independent woman and I pay my own bills and I have a job, you know, that kind of stuff. So it's like, so wait, what are you telling me? Like, if we become a thing that you want me to be in the kitchen and raise our kids or whatever? I don't know. That was the start of it. And then he starts asking me about me, which I don't really like to do, but anyway, or he'd ask me like what my day was, and I'd like got up, gone for a run, worked from home, blah blah blah. And you know, when I mentioned the running thing, he decided to run his hand up my leg, but not in a romantic way. I can't really explain why this was just so weird. Because we weren't flirting, okay? Like, that's probably why it was weird. There was like no chemistry, really, at all. I was given nothing. I was given nothing to this dude that would assume that was a thing to do. Anyway, he runs his hand up my leg and go, yeah, of course you're a runner with those legs. And I'm like, I'm Janet. So I laughed it off and pretended like that was fine. It was weird. And like 5 minutes later, I run to the bathroom and I text. I think it might have been Grace, who I was living with at the time, and I was like, oh my god, no, horrible date. And I came back in and I was like, right, we'll give it, 5-10 more minutes and then we'll bail, right? And it was still weird, and it got a little bit weirder. So we just kept talking, we're still talking, and he just strokes my face. We weren't in close proximity, okay? I think, again, that's why this is a little bit weird. We're not in close proximity, he strokes my face. And I'm like, I didn't say anything that was relative for you to touch my face, bruh. And again, no flirting. So yeah, I had to set it out for 5 more minutes though, because hi, I'm Janet Devlin and I don't like making other people uncomfortable, even if they're making me uncomfortable. So sat it out, was like, okay, this is fine. We're leaving. We walk to the train station, the tube or whatever, and get to the tube. And I'm like, all right, nice to see you, meet you, whatever I said. And because I went in for a hug and not a kiss, he went in for a kiss. I didn't. He totted like a freaking toddler. Okay, like, whew. I was enraged on the inside. Obviously, the inside. Like, I think I might have only kissed one person on a first date ever. One person. So where he got that assumption that I would just be straight in for the kiss, I don't know. But again, there was no flirting on this date. And that is where this date story ends. That's the longest one because it was the most awkward of all of my date stories. So touchy face, man. No. Alright, next up is Cocaine Man, which will again become apparent near the end as to why he's called that in my head. I'm going to try and do this one as quickly as I can as well. I was living in Hartford at the time, and there was a Starbucks there, and I'm a firm believer in a coffee date for a first date. Even before fun things, I like to do coffee dates just to like sit down and suss someone out, you know what I mean? Because I wouldn't want to go pet animals with an absolute weirdo or something, fun activities. Don't want to do it with somebody who's completely nuts. Anyway, meet up for a coffee. It's lovely and sunny, so we go outside. He seems really chill, and I was in a really good mood that day, and I was just like bubbly, upbeat, chit-chatting away, asking him all these questions about himself, So we get outside, and by this point we'd had about 5 minutes of an exchange because we had to order our coffees and things. And he just turns to me and he goes, you seem like somebody I can, share my actual truth with. You don't seem like, one of these false girls, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So he then proceeds to share his truth. So straight off the bat, you can tell he's not from the UK, from his accent. Again, I'm not going to pinpoint where he is from, but it was an accent where you'd be like, oh, so what takes you to the UK? And this is where he told me his truth. So he told me in his country of origin that his dad was famous for drugs. Yay! And it was actually in prison, and he'd now moved to a neighbouring town to Hartford with his cousin. To get her out of that environment. Okay, so he's like, I just realized one day that I needed to have a life change because after my dad got put in prison for, the cocaine smuggling, like I had to take on the family business. So that meant I was, transporting drugs and selling drugs, and, it was a hard life. And it wasn't until I woke up on the floor of an apartment in Mexico with 2 passed out hookers and cocaine over their chests that I realized I needed to change my life. So I moved here. What? What? And you know what? I've got a pretty good bull crap ometer, okay? I never call people out on it because I'm not that type of person. Don't like making other people feel awkward. So, from that point on in the date, I mean, we still chatted for like 45 minutes. But I knew that I just did not want to be there. Didn't want to be there. So yeah, after that, I just basically bailed. Like I said, I had a good bullcrap-ometer and it didn't actually seem like bullcrap. That's what was weirder about it. It seemed legit. He was very legit. So he was like, oh, let me walk you home. And I was like, oh, no, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Please don't. And he's like, well, at least let me walk you some of the way home. So I was like, let's take the long way home, boys. And so we did. And I was like, I get up to Sainsbury's. Sainsbury's was quite near my house, but you wouldn't be able to like follow me. Anyway, I went into Sainsbury's and stayed there for about half an hour. I did my groceries. And couldn't see him anywhere. From where my house was, you could definitely see if there was people around. So he wasn't around, and I was safe, and I went home and kind of texted him like 5 minutes later, because at this point I'd learned never to ghost anyone. So I thanked him for his time and just said that I didn't feel a spark and wished him all the best. So that is Cocaine Man. Swell. Alright, there was also this girl who was so nice. She was really, really nice, right? But the only reason, this is so bad, the only reason I couldn't date her was because she was too much like me, in the sense of our upbringing was basically the same. Our religious beliefs, basically the same. How we felt about everything was basically the same. The foods we liked, everything, everything you could imagine, we had the same opinions on. And it weirded me out, okay? Because I didn't really set up to date myself. But again, she was so nice. But it was just like, that was the weird part of that date, was just everything one of us said. It was like, me too, yeah. Because sometimes not having things in common is actually quite interesting, because you can ask someone about why they're into that thing or why they like that thing, and it's just, yeah, I hope she's well, because she was really nice. I liked her. But not like, you know. Okay, so this one is another long story, and I'm so sorry, but it's just gonna be that way. For the purpose of this story, we shall call this girl Jane. So, me and Jane's first date was really nice. We went for coffee, then we went for Thai food. Good date. The only weird bit was when she pleaded for me to stay. Now, like, a normal exchange is like, oh, please stay, and you're like, da da da, and they're like, please, and then you're like, nah, and that's the end of it. Not with Jane. That exchange went on for far too long. Like, at the time, I had Saturday YouTube uploads to do, and it was a Friday night, and I was like, I can't, you know, I didn't want to, but I couldn't if I wanted to, you know, that kind of vibe. So, anyway, if you know anything about girl relationships, you know that they move very quickly. I think it's just the overwhelming emotions. You both run with it, and then a few months down the line, you're settled and you have a cat. I don't know, it's nothing wrong with it. It's just because you've got somebody who marries your level of intense emotions. You know, fine. So things moved very quickly with me and Jane. So I forgot about the whole plea thing and remembered the nice date that we had. So after a few times of seeing each other, you know, she was already coming to my house, and one day we had this absolutely glorious date, like a whole day date, like picnic in the park, all of the things. Like, it was like 23 degrees, we're jumping in the water. It was really sweet, actually. It was like this really nice date, like the whole day date. Anyway, so comes to the evening time, we go back to my place. She'd left some stuff there and she was about to get her train. I offered to walk her to the train. She said no. So we're saying goodbye, and then she cries, and I'm emotionally inept, so I didn't know what to do, because I'm usually the one who has all the emotions. So she was crying, and obviously I was like, oh, come into the living room, sit down, you know, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. So after just chatting a bit, you know, I cooked some dinner, everything's fine, and, you know, we just talked about it, and grand. It was a lot of a lot, whatever. So she ended up staying that night. Fine, whatevs. That wasn't the intention, but you know, I had a crying woman in my house, which was something I'd never dealt with before. So after that, I didn't want to be heartless, you know, because there was a lot of emotions in that whole thing. But I just realized like I couldn't take that on. Of someone of my mental stature, I realized that, you know, I probably need somebody a little bit more stable, like to be my rock whenever I fall, because I don't know, it just didn't feel like it was gonna work out. So we meet up for dinner because she wasn't having it any other way. So we met up and we talked it out, and it was absolute weird everything. She accepted everything I'd said. So she was so reasonable. This was the thing. She seemed so sane. All my friends that had met her said she was so sane. So she was totally accepting of everything. It was like, well, let's still be friends, you know, like, I think we do get on and that, blah, blah, blah. So fine. So I believed that. And she'd pre-booked her train, and her train wasn't until later, and I lived quite close by to the train station, so I was like, all right, you know, you can come back and you know, we'll wait on your train at mine if you want. So we did, and this is where this gets even more of a disaster. When it's time for her to leave again, she broke down, and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do again. And yeah, it was a storm. It was a storm. And tried really hard to fix it, and it wasn't being fixed. So again, you know, I just like made some like hot chocolates and stuff and was like, yeah, you can stay here tonight. But you know, it was, you know, I think I had even openly said, you know, that wasn't really the plan or whatever, because I literally said I don't want to date anymore, you know. Awkward, so awkward. I'm dying on the inside just thinking about it. Anyway, so it comes to bedtime. And I made up the sofa bed. Okay, I made up the sofa bed and went and was planning on sleeping in my bed. But I had that notion that she didn't know that that's what the plan was. But I thought that was the logical plan. We're not dating anymore, so here's my sofa bed, which is a bloody great sofa bed, I'll have you know. Anyway, she wasn't having it. Then we got in another big talking thing that took us to like 3 o'clock in the morning, all over the fact that I didn't want to share a bed, that I just wanted to sleep on my own. Anyway, we finally said goodbye the next day, and I told her, you know, after talking to her, I knew quite a lot about her, and I told her certain things, pieces of advice that she should follow, or people she should talk to, whatever. And she did, and she went on her merry way and seems to be having a really nice life now. So anyway, I really do hope she's well, and I genuinely don't think that she's, you know, she wasn't a bad person or nothing. It was just a lot of emotions, and I have a lot of emotions, and it was just too much for me. So unfortunately, me and Jane never worked out. Moving swiftly on. I'm only gonna touch on this one briefly because I might make a whole video on this guy, because it still haunts me to this day. Long story short, like on our 3rd date, I think, we're calling this guy Jon Snowman because he looked like Jon Snow. We went for a day trip to Cambridge, and basically I hadn't told this man who I was, what I did, whatever. I just said like what I say to everybody, and it was just, you know, I edit videos, I film some stuff, you know, I write some things for blah blah blah, you know, I write songs, you know, just really keeping it on the DL. And when they'd ask like, oh, can you make a living off that? I'm like, yeah, somehow, I don't know, you just can. And they just go with it. He was one of these people that just went with it. And then we went to Cambridge. Which, shout out to Cambridge. You guys really showed up for me that day. You really did. Everywhere I seemed to go, it was like down at fan club, basically, at dinner, at the park, on the bunting boats. And bear in mind, I hadn't told this guy who I was. So when people were coming up and asking for photographs, it led to a lot of questions. So basically, I seemed like a massive liar. I ghosted the boy. I'm so sorry. Dear Jon Snowman, if you're watching this, I learnt my lesson. Never ghost people. It's been too long now for me to text you, so I ask you if you're doing well, but you seem to be, because sometimes I still see you. Which is why I might make a whole video on that one. Who knows? I'm definitely going to tell you more about him at some point. Anyway. You know nothing, Jon Snow. Alright, I got a quick awkward story. I went on a date with this. He was an American guy, very attractive. He was a model, blah, blah. Just had, again, a few back and forths, and I like to meet people pretty quick. That's maybe where I'm going wrong. I don't know. So we met up at King's Cross. We got chatting. Like outside of King's Cross. This was the summer, so it was nice. We were able to sit outside and just chat. He just proceeded to take the mick out of my accent for a good 45 minutes. Asking me if I was a big fan of Conor McGregor, which obviously I am, but like I don't want to really talk about that on a first date. To make this even worse, right? Anytime I asked him about him, he just would say, I don't really want to talk about it, you know? I don't really want to talk about it. Like, so what's it like being, you know, a model? You know, it doesn't really define me. I don't really want to talk about it. And then would get giddy and ask me a question about me. It was just weird. So for the whole date, it was probably the most I've ever talked about myself on a date ever. It was actually quite a short date for me because I had to get to work after. So yeah, it was like an hour and a half of a date of just me talking about myself, which on dates, I normally try and keep it on the other person for as long as I can. But anyway, I don't want to talk about it. It doesn't define me. Alright guys, so that video was much longer than I thought it was going to be. Stories take a while to tell, apparently, if you're me, who goes into too much detail over everything. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got as much cringe out of it as I did, because it was awkward enough to live it, and it was even more awkward to live it twice. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you've had any awkward dating app experiences or just awkward dates in general, so I don't feel as weird for having so many. That would be nice. And also, don't forget to give the subscription button a hug and the notification bell a little tickle on your way out. It would mean the world. So, on that note, I hope you're having a happy day and that the world is treating you the way you deserve. Okay, bye!